Yes, still January. I just want to catch a fish, a trout in a river, on a dry, please. But until then, we're tying more nymphs to start with. I will come on to dry soon. But I'm going to carry on doing a few more nymphs. Today, place yourself in this position. Good weather, fish in front of you, nice nymphing run. The fish are feeding hard, they're confident, and you know with the right flies, you're going to catch fish. This pattern here is a hare's ear variant. Now, between hare's ear and pheasant tail, they're the two materials you just have to have in your fly box. They've been proven time and time again that you just need them in your box, full stop. My variant's got a bit of flash, a bit of colour, and it's really quite a bold pattern that says, eat me. I tie them from size 12 in heavy point flies, right the way down to 16s. If I'm fishing, say, a duo, I might fish it underneath. But I'm fishing it in good sizes, and it's a good positive fly. So I'm going to get straight into it and show you how I tie mine. So, right, here we go. We're going to start off with a 3.5mm slotted gold bead on a size 14 jig hook. Now, I normally fish these in the larger sizes, but I tie them down to about a 16, maybe on a 2.5, 3mm bead. Particularly for duo method, stuff like that, works quite well in those sizes. But I'm just going to secure the bead and work the way down to where the tail goes. Now, normally, I always stop more towards the bead, more in favour of less wraps rather than a few extra towards the back. Because it's flashback and you pull the flash forward, you will sort of move up your dressing. So a few little wraps further back don't hurt. Coq De Leon for the tail. Use about 6-7 fibres. Just roughly measure it up. Happy with that length. Got a fair few extra fibres in this tail compared to some of the other patterns I've tried. But that's because this fly is, it's a bold pattern. It's look at me, I'm here, eat me type of pattern. We'll come back down about a quarter of the way down the body, and I'm just going to cut a piece off of Uni-Mylar pearl in size 14. I think it's 1/32 of an inch, 32nd, sorry, tooth. I'm going to secure that in. I'm going to come all the way up just to make sure I'm nice and consistent with the taper, and I'm going to come down. You need to make sure, don't go over the tail, but see how the tail just splayed then when I did that, because when you finish the dubbing body and pull this over, it'll pull forwards a bit, and if you start above the tail, as you pull forward, you'll end up with the black thread sticking out the back. So make sure you go right and nice down to the tail. From there, we're just going to cut a piece of copper wire off. Again, this is in 0.1mm. I'm going to tie that in, come all the way down with it. Nice, done. From there, I'm just going to grab some wax now. Wax your thread. I should have a small piece off already on my hand, but I don't. So I'm just going to try and wax it straight off a big lump, which never helps. Now for the body, I want a hare's ear dubbing, but I don't want it to be too spiky. There's a tendency nowadays for sort of a fashion for really spiky dubbing. And it will have its place in this fly, but in the body, I want it relatively smooth, relatively nice in taper and profile. This is a hare's ear dubbing with a bit of flash in it. Although I really don't think the flash is necessary. There's plenty already going on with this fly. And that's my copper wire pinging off. Right, I'm purposely including all of these parts in the video because fly tying, this is what happens. Stuff breaks off, stuff goes wrong on a fly. All I'm going to do is back off. The dubbing's still on the thread. You're going to have to make do and manage with slightly longer thread for the moment. We're going to go and tie in another piece of copper wire. As I said, a little bit difficult because I can't wind in the hare's ear dubbing noodle into the bobbin. But here we go. Another piece back in, and we just catch in that hare's ear. And that's how we rescue a fly when that happens. It's multi-talented, these videos, you know. Instructional and comedy. So then we're going to build up a nice strung area of dubbing towards the head. And I'll show you why after, when you put this collar in and the hot spot. I don't want it to slide down the back of the head when I do that. So all I'm going to do is pull this flashback over the top, and I'm going to secure that in position. Now it's important when I secure this that I give this a nice good pull. Get it nice and tight, cinch it down. And I'll put a few thread wraps in front just to sit it up so I can trim it off. Now the reason why you pull it tight is because when you wrap your rib, if it's too loose, what you'll find will happen, so it will cause bumps in it or cause it to roll off the top down the sides of your dressing. That's really not what you want. So I'm going to secure that in place. 3 turns, do a fourth. Just have a quick look, see if you're happy with it. So far, so good. Break off your copper wire excess. And just, you know, make sure at regular intervals throughout the fly. Just have a look over it, make sure you're happy. This is where it gets slightly complicated. Now, the key really is just taking your time, but we're going to create a dubbing loop. So you're going to put your finger on your thread, pull some extra thread out, lift up, and wrap the opposite way to what you've been wrapping over the fly. And I'm just going to come round that loop a few times and then over. Might not be the done way, it's just the way I do it. Pull the bobbin holder out of the way now, and I'm going to work in this loop that I've created. You need a dubbing loop tool. I'm just going to slot that inside. I will note, if you don't want to do it this way, or you don't have the tools necessary, create a dubbing noodle, wrap it around the head. Won't make any difference really. Slightly different profile. You'll see when I've finished, I like the nice splay that a dubbing loop creates. But if you can't do it, you need to wrap like a normal dubbing noodle, that's fine. That's fine. But from here, I'm just going to wax this loop. It's a cold day and the wax does not want to play. But I'm just going to wrap that around. And now, the opposite to the body, I'm going to pull out some dubbing. And this is a really spiky blend, and I'm looking to get all those nice strong guard fibres. I don't want much in the way of the downy stuff. If I take too much of the downy stuff, it just creates masses of unnecessary bulk into this fly. And I'm just going to lift this loop open and place it inside. There's no rush. Lift, place inside. Now the beauty of doing a loop instead of a thread as well is I can always add a bit extra in here. Because as I'm wrapping, if I get to a point where I think, oh, I've wrapped enough here, it's getting a bit heavy, you can cut a dubbing loop off. We split the thread, things get a little bit more complicated. You can't just cut the thread. I've got about that much. Quite long, but I'm going to go with that to start with. I'm going to put my finger there. I'm going to spin the tool until the fibres start to spin. Don't want it to get too compact, but I'm going to start wrapping now. I'm going to lick my fingers, and as I wrap, I'm just going to pull those fibres back. Just to make sure I'm not trapping any as I wrap them. As you can see, I've tied that in quite bulky to start with, which is fine. Because you can always pull fibres out, mess around with it after it's finished. From here, I'm just going to go around the back of that dubbing loop 3 times. 3 is always a magic number with tying. If I do 3, I know it's secure. I'm then going to find the scissors that I've lost and cut that off. There's a little bit too much downy stuff in there still compared to what I normally want, so I'm just going to pick a few bits out. If you want a natural looking hares here, leave that at that. That's done after I've tied the thread off. A little bit of varnish, my insurance, so I can be certain it won't undo. And there is nothing wrong with just fishing that fly as it is. Lick my fingers again, I'll brush the fibres back, pull out any stray. There is nothing wrong with me going straight out and just fishing that. What I like to do is at the head of the bead here, I'm going to take some Glo-Brite number 7. It is 7, I have to double check then. And I'm going to wrap just a few wraps at the head. Just enough that when I pull, you know, see how it's caught? And no more. 2 or 3 will hold that. I'm going to cut the tag end off. It's important I varnish this because I'm not using many turns of it. It's a copper wire gone for a walk. I'm not using many turns of it, so it's important that you varnish it so it doesn't slip. And I'm just going to come right in at the head. 3 turns is plenty for me. I don't want extra bulk, I just want that touch of colour. I'm going to come in, snip tight. Still I can't talk. A few stray fibres still at the head, and on the bodies still a bit bulky, but that's a finished fly. It's strung, it's bold, it's got loads of movement. You know, it imitates mayfly nymphs, small fry. It's got a bit of flash, a bit of colour. It's got everything you need to go out there and catch trout and grayling with it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed tying that one, and I hope you enjoy fishing it even more.